What's up, everybody? You're listening to another episode of The Signature Cast, where we talk bodybuilding, business, and everything in between. Today is one of those in-between episodes. I am joined by Garrett Bedrin. We're going to give a lot of background because just before we started, we have a great connection. We both graduated from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, and we're going to unravel that in 1 second. But what this segment is about, when we go into the in-between episodes, we like to bring people from all different walks of life. Garrett just now happens to be into real estate. They have a big new project in Hawthorne, correct?
That's right.
Great, a new project in Hawthorne. But we always talk about here that you can't just be healthy in your body, but you have to be healthy in your mind, your spirit, even financially. So that's what we're diving into today on this episode of The Signature Cast. Garrett, thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey,
I really appreciate it. This is going to be refreshing for all of our viewers at home. So let's dive into it. I'm already so excited because we started talking about college and where you went. So, Garrett, what was your start? What did you study? And tell them a little bit about yourself.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show.
Of course.
And usually I have a big entrance music like The Undertaker, something where you're going to go through the gorilla moment. And, you know, I grew up a big wrestling fan. So
Oh my God. We're becoming best friends right now.
And anytime Warren asks me to do a favor, of course, I can't say no.
Sure.
So, listen, I grew up in this area and was thankful to have parents that always showed a healthy lifestyle, right? Mm-hmm. My parents constantly were exercising, whether they were at a gym or they had a trainer or they were eating healthy. And they grew up in that I grew up in that 80s because I'm probably a few years older than you in terms of
Just
UMass.
yeah.
Yep, I graduated in 02. And maybe that genre was a time when there was a lot of diets and a lot of stuff on TV and these, aerobics videos at home, et cetera. And my parents were certainly into all that. So from a young age, I saw how important it was to have a healthy lifestyle, to enjoy sports, to travel, to really, take care of your mind and your body. And of course, we had a family business as well.
Sure.
And I was fortunate because the family business was called Allied Office Supplies. And if anyone knew the business back 20, 30 years ago, it was based in the Meadowlands area. And so they were actually sponsors of the Giants and the New Jersey Nets at the time. So I had a good exposure to kind of learn some of the business behind sports. And that got me into, having an interest in wanting to have a career in sport management. And it's funny, I was never a great athlete. I was kind of the Al Bundy moment. In 8th grade, I was this size, 5'9", maybe 180. I was fast, and I could score great touchdowns running the football. And then you get to high school, and everybody was much bigger than me. That was it.
Yeah.
So I actually, strange enough, had a rare kind of blood test that came back in freshman year of high school. And it turned out I had something called ITP, which is kind of a fluctuating low platelet cell count. And it's something where platelet cells, clot your blood if you were bleeding, right?
Sure.
And, that's a marker for something really scary, like a leukemia, young kind of children's cancer. I went to all the scary hospitals and did all that. And it turned out it was what's called idiopathic, which means it just kind of randomly was going up and down. There was really nothing else wrong. But they said, you know what? You really shouldn't be playing contact sports. God forbid you had a major head injury. We don't know what would happen. I said, no problem. And I transitioned to kind of behind the scenes. Now, look, I wasn't going anywhere. Let's just be clear. But that was a good catalyst to say, you know what? I could have a good attitude about it, be positive. Instead of being a star athlete, which I probably wasn't going to be, let's learn the behind the scenes. So I actually managed the basketball team in high school.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I kind of traveled with the team. I folded the warm-ups. I gave them water. And I was like my own little position I created, right? And then my senior year of high school, I got to work for the Nets. So I was a ball boy, and I got to work in the locker room and got to work on the court, and I would run out. I was the guy that would mop the floor. Now, this is a high-anxiety time.
Yeah.
The players are on the other end, and you got to come and hit that free throw line, right? And if they come back, oh, shit, you're screwed. So I was able to do that for a year, and through that, I got to meet not only John Calipari, but a lot of the guys that had left UMass and joined Coach Cal at the Nets. Mm-hmm. Again, now Cal was at UMass before me also, so like Marcus Camby, all that predates me too.
Yeah.
But they all went to the New Jersey Nets with Cal. So they kept saying to me, Garrett, if you really enjoy kind of the behind the scenes of sports, you got to go to UMass and study sport management, right?
Yeah.
So they have a legendary program. For those that don't know, it was one of the first programs created. It's actually celebrating our 50th anniversary. I'm on a committee to help raise money for that organization, and I have great friends from UMass. And even though I don't work in professional sports any longer, I still feel a real tie. And financially I'm tied to the UMass program. So ended up doing that program at UMass, and it was great. And my freshman year, I think I managed the basketball team, but then I really got introduced to the women's field hockey team. And I got to manage that team and travel with them all over the country. They were.
Oh, that's so cool. I was the strength and conditioning coach for in my senior year for the women's field hockey team.
Incredible.
This is great.
And we did not discuss
This is not planned. This is
Yeah.
totally new to
Yep.
both of us. This is fantastic.
So, and they won the A10 tournament every year, and they went to the NCAAs.
Yep.
And it was great because I wasn't a coach, so I was kind of this objective, neutral person. And a lot of the girls were in sport management classes, so we could also talk business and talk shop. And I videoed all the games. I helped with the bags, and it was just having another kind of a big brother there that wasn't mad at you if you lost. I didn't care if they won or lost. I was there just to support and kind of learn the business.
Sure.
I did the announcing during the game.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you got to do a lot of that fun stuff.
Yeah.
And that was a great experience. And so then they had an internship program at UMass. So, and this is pretty cool. Instead of going to school your last semester, I was able to actually go work for the Pittsburgh Pirates in Bradenton, Florida. So I went down to Tampa, and I think for New Year's, and then stayed there for, I guess, the whole semester. And this was right after 9/11, actually. And so I lived in the dorms where the minor league baseball players would live. The major league guys, they all rented houses.
Sure, yeah.
But I lived in the dorms and got to meet a lot of the minor league guys who were, no different. They were, some of them younger than me. And that was great. And in that internship, I did everything from working in the box office to bringing in the macho man Randy Savage to throw out the first pitch, to helping with the singing of the national anthem. Well, not me, but sourcing the candidates. We designed the marketing materials. I mean, whatever they needed, we were there, and that was great. And I'm still very close to my friend Vinny, who I'm sure will watch this because he loves being healthy and working out too. He ended up staying on with the team a little bit. He was from Pittsburgh. So after that, I graduated, and it's really important. The Mets don't want to get across. Sometimes when you're young, you may see some kids, they say, well, you're a brown noser because you sit in the front, you ask a lot of questions, and you get to know your professors. Well, you really need to do that if you want to have a career in the industry where the professors work, especially at a place like UMass.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to network and make that relationship with your professors. They're going to be your advocates. They have an incredible network. And when you join an organization or you go to college, whatever it may be, part of what you're paying for is tapping into the wider alumni network where they've been before you. So I really encourage people to speak up, have meetings with your professors, get to know them, because they're the ones that are going to stand up for you when there's a job opportunity. So for example, I met with one of my professors, Dr. Bill Sutton. He was a big VP of marketing in the NBA, really high up, but also was huge at UMass, and made it my business that he knew me. And he called me up and said, all right, there's a couple opportunities out there. Obviously, if you want to stay home with the Nets, you could talk to them. And at the time, I'm trying to remember, there was another one, maybe it was the Hornets that had just moved to New Orleans. But what interests me most was, he said, we just had a guy who did really well at the Golden State Warriors in San Francisco area, the Bay Area. And they have an opening. And I had a cousin that had lived out there, had gone to a wedding out there. And I said, you know what, I love that area. The concept of moving away from home for a few years before I got involved in the family business was really interesting to kind of have a couple years on my own. I flew out there, interviewed, loved it. And next thing you know, my parents came out, we rented an apartment, bought some furniture, and they said, okay, you're off, you're on your own, figure it out.
Fantastic.
So I started as what you'd call a season ticket account executive, right? Which is really grinding 80 calls a day, trying to sell full season tickets, mini plans. Not easy when the team hasn't made the playoffs in 12 years at that time. This was Mike Dunleavy, Gilbert Arenas, Troy Murphy, Jason Richardson, but it was an incredible market. The fans were so passionate, and it was a lot of fun. I did it for I think I was out there 3 years, and I'll tell you, one of my best friends started with me about a month apart. His name's Brandon Schneider. He's now the president of the Warriors.
Wow.
And he just won his 4th championship.
That's fantastic.
I was there with him in Boston, went to the game, and got to go to the after party and hold the trophy at 2:30 in the morning.
That's so cool.
So relationships pay off, right?
Yes,
Make sure you spend time taking care of those important relationships, and even if you move away, staying in touch, supporting each other. So it was a great experience. Have a lot of friends that still work there and still feel I'm definitely a Warrior fan. That's not a bandwagon. That's a legit, that was my revenue. That was my income, my livelihood. So I learned so much from being out there. And then, of course, now they've moved to San Francisco and, opened up the Chase Center. When I was there, it was in Oakland. And so after about 3 years, I started to feel like, all right, I've kind of done my own thing a little bit. I want to join the family. The family had sold this company called Allied, which, again, was office supplies, office furniture in the northern New Jersey Meadowlands area. And I said, you know what? We own a bunch of real estate as part of the family because like a lot of small business stories, you'll see they own the real estate also. And typically that's worth more than the business long term. So I said to my family, I said, if we spend more time on the real estate, it'll even do better. We're not really spending that much time on it. And I started saying, why are we buying things in markets all over the place like Colorado or New Mexico? Aren't people moving to the Southeast, right? My sister had just moved to North Carolina. We had friends that had moved to Atlanta. Companies were relocating certainly down there. So I said, let's be more strategic. And so my dad and uncle, who've been partners for many, many years, said, you know what, that sounds great. And I kind of packed up, moved home, and we got kind of jumped in, right, from the bottom and started going to different conferences, learning the industry, and started looking for new projects to purchase and get involved in, and management and leasing and all that good stuff. And so I guess that was probably in '05. So, maybe 15 years ago, roughly, 17 years ago, roughly. And we've built a nice family portfolio. We're involved in about 20 different commercial real estate projects. Half of them are in North Carolina. We love this market. Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point. They used to build a lot of furniture, used to have a lot of tobacco, a lot of banks, and now they're transitioning lots of biotech, medical. They're actually like growing organs in the Wake Forest Innovation Corridor, it's called. There's this one doctor, it's incredible. Growing hands, growing hearts.
Wow.
Yeah, mind-blowing stuff. So we've been down there for a while, and we look to expand. And as you mentioned, we're also doing this big development in Hawthorne, which was a long project. It took 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, development's not easy. And it's 118 luxury apartments that are what I'd say condo quality, and it's a transit-oriented project, so you walk to the train. So we wanted the feeling of like Ridgewood or Montclair, these towns where it's transit-oriented and kind of health and wellness and kind of this urban walkable.
Sure.
And so health and wellness played a huge role in how we looked at the project. Very, very tall windows for a lot of light, a lot of natural light, tall ceilings, LEDs, tankless water heaters, tried to be as energy efficient as we could, wide open spaces. The project has a small little fitness center for soft fitness, and then there's also a gym there as well. There's also a CubeSmart self-storage building, so you can store any extra golf clubs, bikes, weights. Maybe you have an extra car.
Mm-hmm.
If you move from a house to an apartment, you're going to have stuff, right? Podcast studio.
Yeah.
So, we've transitioned. We used to do a lot of retail. Now we've sprinkled in multifamily, which is very hot right now, and of course storage. So I think we're starting to market ourselves more as mixed use specialists, right?
Yeah, so you started out, I'm assuming, in the commercial industry. And I know Warren, the owner of the gym, that's where he mostly lies, I believe, with his family, and they do the real estate as well. But it's definitely a very interesting market to get into. I've looked into it a little bit myself, just out of pure interest, and especially into the commercial. Warren's taught me a few things about it.
Excellent.
And I think it's definitely something most people should try to learn more about, and especially if you're going to become a homeowner one day, or if you become a business owner and you're going to have your own building that you're working out of and all that type of stuff. But it's an interesting market, and not to mention it's probably the craziest roller coaster you'll ever be on, especially right now. But let's dive a little bit. So wonderful background. Out of UMass alum here. This is fantastic.
UMass.
Let's go Minutemen. No, that's so great too. Like to hear you said you were part of the Mullen Center. Working there. I was, even though I studied kinesiology and public health.
Sure.
I was involved very much so in the sports, but from the music aspect, I was part of the marching band there, and so
incredible.
Not me. No, Did you ever play anything?
No.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. We can't all be great. It's okay. No, I'm just kidding. But I was involved, so I was always in the Mullen Center and, supporting the basketball team and the football team and all that type of stuff. And it really is a great university. And before I move on, I am going to touch on what you had mentioned, that network component, not just at UMass, but in general, is something so many people forget to tap into. I'm already, I'm gonna see. We're gonna talk after this. We're probably let's get some food or something, because there's so many avenues that people forget to explore. And just like this, if we had never done this, I had never known you went to UMass.
Right.
Made this connection, and who knows what we can do in the future. So people, please remember the people you meet. Say hi every once in a while. I still talk to a bunch of my professors.
Yeah.
To this day, and it's been 10 years now since I've been out of college.
So your network is your net worth.
Yes.
Okay. It's important that, and I know it kind of sounds like a cliche or a one-liner, but it's really true. Think about kind of your 5 closest friends. Who would you pick up the phone in the middle of the night and call? And, it's very important that you don't just live a life that's full of, having 10,000 followers on Instagram or whatever. That may sound cool, but, there really may only be 5 or 10 people that can actually do something particular in your life that changes your life. So think about that tight circle as well.
Yeah, it's so important. Like they say, when that day comes, when you're sitting on that hospital bed, if you can have 4 to 5 truly close friends or people that you can consider, part of your family, it's more valuable than anything. And networking is where that starts. Absolutely. So your own personal fitness. So you said you were into sports. I had that little thing in high school, but I'm sure you still maintain being active. What do you do now, especially with, I'm assuming, being in real estate, you're probably traveling to properties every once in a while.
Sure.
I'm sure you're a relatively busy guy. What do you do personally? Is there any style of working out that you prefer? Do you do CrossFit? Do you do high intensity training or just cardio? What is it your current routine or split look like?
Fair question. And you know what? In full disclosure, the past couple weeks I haven't felt great.
Okay.
So I haven't done a lot in the past 2 weeks. But I do like to live a life full of health and wellness, right? So I've added in a lot of stretching now. Because my hip's been bugging me a little bit, and I'm just getting a lot better. But typically, I try to do kind of a cross-section of some high-intensity stuff, right? And maybe that's a class, like an Orange Theory type class or another facility, whatever it may be, wherever you live. Or I have a Peloton treadmill and a Peloton bike. So they've got different boot camp classes you can take. You can run for 20, 30 minutes, then you can do some weights. When it's nice out, I like running outside, 3-4 miles. I've gone as far as like 7 miles. But I certainly do push-ups at home as well and sit-ups. I used to do, before COVID, I was going to like Orange Theory all the time, like 5 in the morning, waking up at 4 and doing that. And I was really kind of addicted to it. I found that I ended up getting really, really hungry at the end of the day and wasn't always making great choices. So I ended up cutting that back a little bit. And also I've realized that at certain stages of your life, your body's changing, right? Mm-hmm. And so I realized that I actually needed more sleep. So waking up at 4, although I was getting more done with some more reading and planning my day better, I've lately needed a little bit more sleep. So
you weren't recovering.
Exactly. And of course, love to get the protein shake, and I love the juices. I know you guys have a great juice connection here at Signature. So I love like the green juices, the kale, and all that spinach, all that good stuff. My body feels amazing. Try to really watch what I eat during the week. Really healthy salads with turkey, just try to keep it kind of low carb. And then on the weekends, I want to enjoy myself. I definitely want to have fun. But it's also important to make time to kind of meditate a little bit, have some quiet time, try to read. One of the important things I try to do, which is a little bit more business, but I think is health and wellness as well. When I get home from work, I try to put my phone away for like the first hour, right? So that way I can engage with my kids, my family, have dinner, whatever we're going to do, and then look at it, maybe check it a little bit later, and then try to get off of that an hour before bed. And then always try to read like in bed for 15, 20 minutes before I go to bed. So I try to do that to help me relax and kind of calm down. My first manager at the Warriors said to me, when you get home, change your clothes. Get out of your work clothes, put on some comfy clothes. And I said, well, what does that mean? He says, well, because you want to try to leave that a little bit at work. You want to make it kind of a designation that you're now home, and you want to trick your mind. I thought that was helpful.
It definitely is. I know that's something I picked up about, it's only been about 3-4 weeks ago now, but I was... we all fall into, just sitting in bed trying to fall asleep. You're on your phone or whatever it may be. So I try to put the phone away before I'm going to go to bed, but I start my day and I don't touch the phone until I'm like in the car if I have to make a phone call on the way to work. Because I noticed, I get up and you're looking in your emails and you don't even give your body, as you had said, when you get home, time to rest. Or I wasn't giving my body a time to wake up, to get the motors running, to really refresh myself and, take the shower, have my breakfast, whatever it was. I feel 100 times better.
Well, the other thing with that I want to mention, Will, is that if you start your day where you're in your phone, right, you're probably going to discover some type of fire to put out, right? So there's something that someone's unhappy with.
Something chaotic.
Something chaotic. Maybe you have an employee that called in sick, or you have an issue. And that's the first thing your brain's going to kind of say, yep, I'm in fire mode. I'm in put out fire mode. Mm-hmm. Whereas, maybe it's better to kind of go outside and go for a 10-minute walk.
Yeah.
If you have a dog, take your dog outside. Breathe, bring in the air, understand the temperature, let your body kind of get on tune with what is outside. Then kind of look at it and say, all right, what's my schedule for the day? So that's helped too, letting your eyes kind of see the sun or see the sky before the phone. And it's tough because everyone uses the phone as their their alarm clock or whatever,
Yeah.
right? And you charge it right by your bed. Most people don't even have a landline anymore, so it's kind of, they got to have their phone.
Yeah, I got very lucky. My girlfriend and I just moved in together about a year ago, and our bedroom, what I do is I pull the shade, and there's only about like maybe 8 inches left. But right around 7 a.m. when I'm trying to get up, the sun starts to come in. So I don't even use my alarm anymore, which is fantastic. I'll wake up to the sunlight, which is so important. And we kind of lose, unfortunately, with all the technology that we have, we lose touch with, our inner clock and being connected to, not to sound cliche, but like Mother Earth and all that type of stuff.
Important.
And the more that we can connect with our natural state, I think, we're overall healthier and just feel better throughout the day. But I love to hear that you've definitely been experimenting as well with what style of fitness works for you. I know so many people that fall into I have to get up at 4 or 5. I go to the gym and then and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, sometimes it's the quality of that, 8 hours that you're working or 6 hours, whatever it may be. And you could be affecting that so drastically if you just think, well, if I'm up before everybody else, hold on. Just because you're up before everybody else, are you doing better work than everybody else? Are you making better decisions than they are? Is your mind clear? Are you thinking with a good conscience? All these things. And that's one of the most important parts that we've discovered here on the Signature Cast. A couple episodes we had Prema Michelle. She's the head of our yoga program here. And that's one of the many things we were talking about is just emptying the mind, being clear, taking a minute, breathing. And you can really live a much healthier and more productive lifestyle, especially within business. One thing I try to tell Warren all the time, and you can get on Warren about this, is he loves being on that cell phone. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, Warren, put the cell phone down. Let's enjoy the moment. Let's be in this meeting, that we're doing. And you can definitely elevate yourself much higher than other people. It's funny. Surprising.
During COVID, we actually got 2 dogs. Right? We never had dogs.
Okay.
I never had a dog growing up. I had a dog for a hot minute. In California, which the dog didn't come home, but to make a long story short, these dogs have changed our life. They've gotten us outside more, especially in the winter. Right, a morning like today, you would have said, "Oh, I don't want to go out for a walk. It's nasty out. There was snow last night." I was like, "Yeah, hey, dog's got to go."
That's it.
You put on the jacket, you throw on the boots, you throw on the Giants hat. And a little bit embarrassing, but you do it anyway.
Oh yeah. Let's not talk about that game the other day.
And you take the walk. And when you walk the dogs for like 10, 15 minutes, and if you don't have a dog, just go for a walk with a friend, whatever. You get this perception of the world, like this perspective that you pick up is the right word, that you don't get behind a desk, behind a phone, behind a computer. You see the trees, you see the ground, and it's just incredible that there's so much out there that's outside of your computer. So the issue that you're handling at work, although it's obviously, could be very important for that work, it's probably very small compared to the whole world issue. And so I find that going for a walk, and if I get hung up on a problem at work, I'll go outside and kind of get some fresh air. I don't do it all the time because it doesn't happen all the time, but when I do it, I feel better, right? And seeing that natural sunlight, the vitamin D, definitely helps. So I think I'm glad that you guys are taking a stance that it's more than just kind of the weightlifting component. It's about letting your body relax. Because when your body is calm, you become more patient. When you're patient, you're going to make better decisions in the big moments. If your body is always in this kind of defend, put out fire, it's just very erratic. And I found that I have a lot more patience now where I can see the big opportunities and then jump on them with more clarity. Does that make sense?
100%. There is a massive connection between your mental state and your physical state. As I mentioned, we talked about that with Michelle. Just being in that fight or flight response all the time, you will have tenser muscles. Your joints will ache more. You're not going to be releasing these endorphins for your body to relax that you should be throughout the day, not to mention your sleep cycle. And there's so many factors we can get into, but they have even gone as far as now they're calling it, grounding or rooting yourself. If you can in the morning go out, even barefoot into the grass and just breathe some air and just relax for a moment. And the amount of stress, the levels, of cortisol have been drastically coming down in all the studies. And we, because of, like I said, technology, we're so disconnected from ourselves and from, our environment. And I think it's something very exciting for me. I think we're moving as a whole in the health and wellness industry. People are really starting to open their eyes about that. More and more people are doing things like cold therapy with ice baths and shocking themselves and the amazing benefits that they're finding from that as well.
Sure.
It's really great. You know,
Cold shower feels great.
Oh yeah, like the last minute if you can, and just
go
crank
for
it. Yeah.
Even if it's 15 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is, it'll just kind of like shock you.
Yeah.
And bring you. And I think
It's better than any cup of coffee you could ever have. You will be wide awake.
Now, what about, have you tried any of the cryotherapy or the red light saunas or red light therapy?
Sure. So the cryotherapy I've done a couple times. So a little bit of background about myself,
Sure.
other than being in music. I always played sports. I never got into like football and stuff like that because I was always in the marching band. So I always did the more like individualized or obscure things. I was a shot putter through discus in high school. I did powerlifting in college and a little bit out. I did strongman, and now I am officially a professional arm wrestler. I'm going to the Arnold Classic next year, which is really exciting, representing the U.S. and my team, the High Five. So that's going to be very exciting. But because of that, I've a lot of injuries along the way, learned a lot. You know, even though I'm only 29, I feel like I have the body sometimes of a 45-year-old because of all the crazy things I've done. But I have tried cryotherapy. I do like it. I definitely get a great night's sleep afterwards. Definitely a reduction in my inflammation, but comparatively, I think ice baths can accomplish the same thing.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a lot more daunting of a task to hop in that ice bath for 2 minutes, but I also like that component of it. It's a challenge for me.
Yeah, I like that too.
And I'm a very, 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 as my girlfriend would say, very competitive person. I love just hanging out with everybody, but when it comes to like even like you want to do thumb wars? Oh, we're going to do some thumb wars. But cryotherapy is great. I would definitely say that an ice bath, I believe, has more benefits in other ways as well. I haven't done much red light therapy, but saunas. Oof, I am addicted to the sauna.
Yep.
You know, especially if I can get into one before my workout, if not after. There's nothing better than breaking that sweat, moving, getting those, they're called heat shock proteins that are released in your body. There's massive studies that have been done about dementia and Alzheimer's that you can reduce it up to 50, 60%.
Tremendous.
Just by being exposed to that type of heat 3 to 4 times a week. And what's really interesting about those studies is that 3 to 4 times a week is great, but it exponentially keeps growing the reduction, but the more that you use it. So they've found that the relation that the more you use it, the more of the benefit.
Wow.
Which is really great. So
great.
we're actually, little shameless plug here, we are doubling the size of our men's sauna.
It's under construction.
Yeah, it's under construction now. Okay. So it's going to be absolutely beautiful. We have 2 new heating units. And
I set you up good for that, right?
Oh yeah, fantastic. Very good. You know, but there's so many avenues you can take to be a healthy individual. And I would really like to talk, especially now that you're here, what has making, you said you're a family man, you have kids?
I have 2 girls, yep.
All right, fantastic. How old are your girls?
You know, here's the funny thing. People ask me all the time, how old are your girls? And I always get confused between how old are they and what grade they're in.
Gotcha.
Right? So Harper's 8 and Juliet will be 12 in April.
All right, great. So they're on their way. They're growing. They're getting big. How has being financially healthy and making these financial decisions maybe taken a burden off of some of your stress, or has it added in certain ways? You know, how do you feel being financially responsible affects your physical, mental, emotional health?
Wow.
That's a loaded question there.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, look, I think there's people that obsess about, you know, money will make me happy, right? Like money brings happiness. And there's certainly a number of things that, you know, being financially successful gives you the ability to kind of like, I'm not worried about paying my mortgage or my rent every month. Mm-hmm. But I do think there's a plateau. And I think if you focus on this, you know, I'll be happy when I get the great job. I'll be happy when I get the great girlfriend. I'll be happy when I pick a number, $1 million, right? The reality is that you will never be happy. So I try to focus on, you know, I am happy no matter what I have, right? Where can I find the little bits of joy and happiness? And whether it's, you know, your daughter's smile or a small little achievement she made on her homework, or so I think you've got to kind of be you know, figure out how to be happy now, but also that combination of always challenging yourself, right? And setting goals a little higher. One of the new things I got involved with for my daughter, started talking about wanting to buy, you know, go to Lululemon or go to Starbucks, right? And I was like, look, well, those things cost money, right? I can make coffee at home, that's fine, and it's nice to treat yourself. But if you want something like that, which is like above and beyond what your parents basically provide dinner, whatever, right? You need to earn it. So we started some chores. So Juliet takes the dogs out every morning at 6:30, right? Which is pretty good for a 12-year-old, almost 12-year-old. And she brings the trash in, and she can empty the dishwasher. Doesn't always do the dishwasher, but we have a program, there's an app called Go Henry. And they basically send you a debit card in the mail, and the kids can customize it with their picture or cute, whatever they want, pattern. And it tracks your spending. And so when she makes, $5, $8, whatever it is per week for the chores, it then puts that money on her card and it immediately separates it into two pockets. One is kind of fun, and one is I'm saving up for a $50 phone case. When you can really buy a $15 phone case, you got to save up for the $50 one, or the expensive Lululemon pants, or whatever it may be. Athleta. And so since we've started that, I've noticed her doing more chores, right? And it has spending limits. You can't use too much at once. And it'll text me when she's spent money. So I really recommend looking into something like that to help teach your kids. That's been something that I've enjoyed. And my little one, we haven't got her started on it yet, but soon enough, right?
Yeah, no, that I love that. It's unfortunate that in today's education system, financial responsibility isn't really taught. And it's great that you had a background with your family business and you learned these things at an earlier age, and that's fantastic. I'm sure both of your daughters will be on a much better footing than most people.
Absolutely.
But I think what you said is so profound. It's money won't give you happiness, but I think what you're almost getting is what money can do in terms of working hard is just it can open opportunities for you, but you need to find your happiness in other places. And I think that's something that we all tend to forget about, in this rat race, if you want to call it, got to make more money, you got to do this, got to get the car, got to have the girlfriend like you want, or you got to have, the fancy house and all this other stuff. If you can't be happy with what you have, you'll never be happy with all those other things.
And let me tell you from personal experience, somebody will always have a faster car, a bigger house, and then you get into, it's a private jet. Someone's going to have a bigger private jet. It's a Gulfstream. I got a Gulfstream 100. No, I got a 550. I got a 650. Like, the grass is not always greener on the other side. Like, you will lose that. You can't let those forget the word that people use to describe those types of toys and things. Those don't make you happy. Now, I'm a big believer in rewarding yourself with a little percentage when you make like a big deal. So let's say, you close this big deal and you did a real estate transaction and it was a big check. Take 10% of that and buy that great watch you wanted, or the stereo, or the new iPhone, whatever it may be, because you will look back and say that hard work came from that particular, that gift I got myself.
Sure.
Or take your wife out. I like to buy my wife something to acknowledge that she supported me through that 6-month transaction. And I wasn't always able to be there on time every day because I was in the middle of a transaction. So I try to do that. But you've got to have this guy, Ed Milet, I love. I follow him. I don't know if you know him. He's talks a lot about blissful dissatisfaction. Like, you've got to kind of find the happiness within, with your friendships, with your health, with your business, the things that drive you, but always still be kind of trying to turn it up a little bit. But yeah, I know a lot of people that have fallen into that trap. And then guess what? You make all this money. I know people that have sold their business for hundreds of millions of dollars, and then after a few months, they don't know what to do with themselves because they've defined their whole life by the rat race, by the work, right? And then they take. When my dad and uncle sold their business, he took the summer off, and after the end of the summer, he's like, "All right, what am I going to do?" And he went out and bought another business, and tried something new, right? And it's like, so I think it's really important to help develop some of these financial goals at a young age. What can you be doing kind of in your free time, whether it's, maybe picking up a little Uber driving on the side, or coming up with a crafty, cute business. My wife has a great little business. She makes customized birthday gifts and customized kind of T-shirts for people that want to go on a trip. 10 people want to go to Disney. You're not going to call up a tremendous custom company.
Sure.
You need smaller batches. So anything you can come up with, tutoring on the side. Maybe you're good in math, or you're good in the band, and you want to help do some music lessons on the side for $50 or $100. Those little side things add up. Now, I do want to say though, you have to be careful. Some people, when they start the side hustles, it starts to grow, and then they walk away from their bread and butter, and then it falls apart. And so you got to be really careful. You don't want to walk away from your bread and butter until your side hustle can make money while you're sleeping, because there's a big difference. I always say, I have a podcast too called Get Up with Garrett, where we talk a lot about real estate investing and technology and just business and entrepreneurship. And I try to kind of let my listeners understand it's only a business if it makes money when you sleep, right? So like my real estate makes money when I'm not there, right? When Warren and I were not there, Publix opens up the supermarket, TJ Maxx opens up the store. We don't do it, but they do it and they pay the rent. But if you start doing music lessons and you're the only one doing music lessons and you go on vacation for 2 weeks, you don't get paid, right? So, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a hobby. That's a side hustle, whatever you want to call it, an alternative stream of revenue. But it's not a business until it actually is making money while you sleep. So be careful not to leave your real career, which has, other benefits too.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I know. Yeah, I've been working on a few small things on the side, that are in the sports avenue with whether it's different products I'm trying to create for arm wrestling or different little things that I could just sell on Etsy and all those types of things. Just something for fun,
Sure.
But we've talked about that. My girlfriend and I a long time is, how do we find that source of income that, as you had mentioned, makes while you're sleeping, or whether it's, eventually hiring employees to do whatever it is, if it does grow to that size. It is.
I can give you some recommendations on the real estate side. I mean,
Sure.
There are opportunities for people to invest in real estate. People always will say to me, all right, well, how do I get started? What should I do? Whatever. How do I buy an apartment complex or a shopping center? Obviously, you don't just go out and buy.
Yeah.
You start small, right? So what a lot of people do is they may buy a house or maybe like a 4-unit, and they'll basically what's called house hack, where they'll live in one bedroom and they'll rent out the other bedrooms, or they'll live in one of the units and they'll rent out the other units. That's a great way to get started because hopefully the other rents will basically pay your mortgage, and then the concept is that over time the mortgage is being paid down, so the equity is going up, but it's everybody else making those payments for you, and you're kind of living for free.
Yeah.
And now you bought this building for $500,000. 5 years later, it's worth $1 million. It's your money. That's the equity that's grown. But if you're interested in learning more about real estate investing, there's websites you can go to actually invest in what's called passive income deals, where and some of the limits are different numbers. They may be $25,000 or $50,000. I don't know exactly what they are. There's a company called CrowdStreet, and you'll meet sponsors similar to me from all over the country that do apartments, that do storage, that do shopping centers. And you can, do a webinar and see a deal, and they will pitch you the deal, and you have to obviously understand it. And then there's certain returns, like you may make a 6% return, you may make an 8%. They'll tell you all the different deals, but you don't have to do it yourself. You can do it through another company like that, and then as the investment is ongoing, you'll get updates and you'll learn more about it, and that may teach you about how to do it yourself.
That's very interesting. It's almost like buying a stock into a building.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's a definitely, excuse me, not as, for so many people, as you'd mentioned, they think, oh my God, I need to buy a 10-family home or a apartment complex, whatever it may be. And I don't have $500,000 in my bank account. How am I going to do this? Not to mention, and I'm sure you'd be able to touch about this, like there is so much money out there that is accessible that you really don't need all the money yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what I do.
That's the name of the game.
Well, I have a lot of friends and investors who, like, if you read that we bought something and it costs $5 million, it wasn't my $5 million. It was a collection of high net worth investors, family and friends who actually need to put the money out to work because if they keep it in their bank account, you probably heard of this thing called inflation, right? So, $100 is going to go down, down, down. It's been 8%, 5%, pick a number. So you got to put it to work. So yeah, I mean, there's a huge collection of people, and your point, there's actually more money out there than you think that hasn't been able to get put out. And now interest rates are really high. So a lot of people have raised money and haven't been able to put it out successfully. So if you find a project, now again, I don't want to create something that's not realistic. You're not going to roll out of bed, find this $20 million project on your first project, and go to find someone to put up $5 million. You're going to have to start small, prove yourself, right? But let's assume you've proven yourself a little bit. You've done a couple deals. You've returned some money to the investors. They're happy. And then you happen to find a deal that's bigger than what you have. There is money for that. Like the money part is actually not the hardest part. Finding the deal and making the sense of the deal that it underwrites is harder.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. And you're really sparking my interest back into real estate again. We're gonna have some chats after this.
Okay. Maybe you'll buy me an acai bowl somewhere.
Oh, all right. I wonder if we sell them here at Signature Fitness. No, guys, before we wrap things up, I do want to say thank you so much again for coming on to the Signature Cast. I so many times forget how important these in-between episodes, as I call them, are, not just to the viewers, but I truly appreciate them, because I even get caught up in this. Well, I got to do my workout. I got to eat my shake. I gotta make sure I get enough sleep. Blah, blah, blah. And I think I sometimes put my mental and financial health, to the side, because I'm so passionate about those other things. And it's refreshing to see someone who has, as you had mentioned, you have a family, you have dogs, and you somehow are able to keep all this together and maintain to be healthy and obviously, a long, happy life. And I try to tell Warren about these things too. I think we can get Warren doing a little bit more of the, relaxing family things and put the business to the side a little bit, because I think he's doing all right. But no, this is great. It was very, very refreshing. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today.
It's my pleasure. And by the way, Will, I got to tell you, I'm so blown away by what you've done here with the functional studio. And of course, I tell Warren all the time, the gym overall is a really unique facility. I mean, I haven't seen a kind of a mom and pop name, right? Because it's not this big national franchise name, offer so much.
Yeah.
And so I'm blown away by the collection of offerings that you have here at Signature, and a very, very loyal, fan base and support group here. And of course the cafes. And you guys seem to, every time I come and visit, you're always improving and trying something. And I think the last thing I want to leave the audience with is you want to create a culture in your life and in business where people aren't afraid of failure. It's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes, right? As you make mistakes, it means you're learning, you're trying. Like, nobody just was born and was a genius, right? Elon Musk has gone through a lot of iterations on the Tesla, on the SpaceX rockets, and it's that continual acceptance of failure and trying that lead you to ultimately the successes you have in life. So if you're thinking about going and trying a new business idea on the side, or you have an existing business like Signature and you want to try something new like a red light therapy room or a float tank, give it a shot. Believe in your employees, believe in your staff. What's the worst thing that's going to happen? You lost, pick a dollar amount you're comfortable losing. We're willing to lose $5,000. Okay, we're going to renovate this room. We're going to try it. Doesn't work. At least we went for it. And I think people sometimes get this analysis paralysis where, they don't want to go for it until everything lines up perfectly. Well, let me tell you, it'll never be the perfect time to get married. It'll never be the perfect time to have a baby. And it certainly will be never a perfect time to start a business or get a new dog. You just got to go and do it, and a lot of things will fall into place. I often say to my listeners on my show, don't worry about getting from A to Z, Will. Worry about getting from A to B, and then go from B to C, and then C to D, and on and on and on. And eventually you will get there, and there may be some curves and movements backwards as well. Just focus on the next move that takes you down that path.
That's where we're going to lead, ladies and gentlemen. Focus on the next move. Get out there and explore, and don't be afraid to take a couple of risks. I think that's the way we're going to leave it.
Let's go.
Thanks a lot, guys. That's another episode of the Signature Cast where we talk bodybuilding, business, and everything in between. We'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.